Good morning. This is Justin Prince. Welcome to this Leaders Circle call. Very excited to be able to share some important information with you as you grow as a leader. Now, let me pull this up real quick. As your goal as a leader is to continue to increase your ability to grow your own personal leadership as well as to grow your team's leadership. And let me pull up my notes here, guys. I'm sorry. So I'm going to share with you today your 10 steps that you can use to actually grow as a leader and 10 traits as a leader, 10 characteristics of great leaders. Now, John C. Maxwell says that everything rises and falls on leadership. So think about that for your life and for your business. Not some things rise and fall. Everything rises and falls. So this is the critical issue, is your own personal leadership, your ability to lead people, your ability to influence people, your ability to impact people, your ability to grow as a leader. What's so great about leadership is that you can grow this. This is something that they say, are you born as a leader? No, you're born as a baby, right? You can grow into a great leader. So I want to share with you the 10 traits, 10 characteristics of great leaders. Number one is this: great leaders lead by example. So for your notes, write this down. The essence of leadership is example. Now, this may sound like common sense, but my friends, this is not common practice. And a question you want to ask yourself as we go through this whole session is, where do you rate yourself on each one of these questions, 1 to 10? Do you lead by example right now? Would you want you to mentor you? If your team did what you did last week, would your business be where you want it to be? If your team did what you did last month, would your business be where you want it to be? Now, we all grow in different phases of leadership, meaning maybe you don't do the same thing today that you did 2 or 3 or 5 years ago, but are you still leading by example? What time are you waking up in the morning? What do your night patterns look like? What do your morning patterns look like? What is your dream and goal right now? Would you want your team to follow what you're doing? Would you want you to mentor you? Another quick question is, are you a leader that leads by position and title, or do you lead by example? How fit are you? How fit are you spiritually and emotionally and mentally and financially? Would you want your team to follow after you financially? Would you want your team to follow after you emotionally? Would you want your team to follow after you physically? Are you physically fit? Would you want you to mentor you? Are you the kind of person that's leading the way by example? Great leaders inspire action. And is your leadership currently inspiring action in other people? Number 2 is great leaders are slow to be offended and they're quick to forgive. What I've seen in my kind of journey as a leader is that small people are offended by small things. Like something happens, they're easily offended. And then what's interesting is typically the same person that's easily offended is also the same person that's slow to forgive. They're slow to get over it. And they hold on to grudges and anger and so on. Norman Vincent Peale said the trouble with most of us is that we'd rather be ruined by praise than saved by criticism. So how are you doing right now at taking constructive feedback or constructive criticism? Or when you hear it, are you saying, I love that, I'm like willing to learn? Or do you hear that and you get all bitter and bent out of shape and all angry? Are you willing to sell your birthright for a mess of pottage? I went to Costa Rica with John C. Maxwell on a country transformation. And they teach 15 leadership principles and 15 leadership values to these different countries. They've done it to Guatemala, Paraguay, and now Costa Rica. And they've taught, I think it's approaching 600,000 people have been through these facilitated roundtable discussions to increase the leadership in the country. So we're there in Costa Rica, and in the Senate, in the Costa Rican Senate, they had they're walking through the leadership values, and one of the 15 was forgiveness. And the questions they were asking is, who do you need to forgive? And then the second question was, when are you going to choose to forgive them? I want to ask you the same question. Who do you need to forgive in your life right now? Like, who's someone you're like, I just need to get over it a little bit. I need to forgive you. The second question is, when are you going to do it? They asked this, and one of the men who is in the Costa Rican Senate, he stands up, he walks 10 feet over to another man that he says to the man, he says, I haven't spoken to you for 18 years because you offended me 18 years ago. And he said, I want to tell you that I'm sorry and that I forgive you. Both of these proud men in the Costa Rican Senate stand up, they both start bawling, and they give each other a big hug. And that's the power of forgiveness. You've heard the old adage that says holding on to anger and a grudge is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die. My friend, all of the anger you're holding on to, all the grudges, all of the slights that you're hanging on to, it's not hurting them, it's hurting you. So move forward and get over it and be quick to forgive and slow to offense. People with big agendas, big dreams, big goals, man, they don't have time for small slights and small offenses. Number 3, great leaders focus on the dream, not on the drama. I have a partner of mine named Bob Goshen. Many of you know him. We actually tag team a lot of these leader circle calls. And Bob shared this idea with me years ago that great leaders focus on the dream, not on the drama. And what I want to share with you is this: where your focus goes, your energy flows. So if your focus and energy is to the drama, guess where? If you focus on it, that's where your energy will go. If you focus on your dreams and you focus on giving your passion to your dreams, not the drama, you focus on focusing on what's right versus what's wrong. Are you the kind of leader that is what I call a what we have leader or a when we have leader? A what we have leader says, I'm going to lead with what we have. I'm going to make things happen with what we have. When we have leader says, I can't grow until we have, when we have this, then I'll grow. When we have that, then I'll grow. When we have the better video, then I'll grow. When we have the better resources, the better tools and systems. I do coaching for some founders and CEOs of a solar company. And they have a sales organization where they need to consistently recruit salespeople to go out and sell their solar products. Well, their processes weren't where they wanted them. In other words, their onboarding processes and their training processes weren't where they wanted them. So they stopped the recruiting process to focus on the onboarding and the training process. Well, what happened is here they are saying, when we have this, then we'll grow. And they're trying to get it all fixed. And their recruiting dried up. They didn't have anyone to go sell their products, or didn't have enough people to go sell their products. And you can imagine the funnels dried up and their business started to really suffer. So my question to you is this: what are you focused on right now? Are you focused on the drama or the dream? If you stay focused on your dream, you can overcome all the drama. When the why is big enough, the how becomes easy. You'll figure out the how. You can make it through all this stuff. But great leaders stay focused on the dream. And here's what I want to share with you, is as you do this, you say, we're going to grow with what we have. Now at night, you fix what we don't have, what we need. That's cool. But you grow today. You don't wait till when we have. You grow with what we have. You remember Apollo 13, the great movie with Tom Hanks. Now, as you know, the movie was based on a true story. These astronauts are sent up into space. And if you remember the famous line of Houston, we have a problem. Well, everyone starts giving different ideas. We could do this, we could do that. Well, the problem was they didn't have any of the resources they were talking about with the ideas. So what they did is they got a cardboard box. They dumped it on the table. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And they showed all the stuff that they had on the space shuttle. They said, this is what we have to deal with. This is what we have to work with. What are we going to do with what we have? And that's the kind of leader you want to be, is the kind of leader that says, with what we have, I will grow. Not when we have, but with what we have. Number 4 is great leaders never poison the well. Great leaders never poison the well. So what I mean by that is this: as you build as a leader, you'll increase your influence. It's what I call your leadership wake. If you've ever been behind a boat, you can create, there's a wake that's created behind a boat. And if the wake gets too big, it can knock other skiers you can't surf the wake if it gets too big, or it can knock other boats over. The wake is too out of control. You want to, as a leader, the words that you say matter. The actions that you say matter. Your example matters. What you do matters. You have a leadership wake. What you do matters. And your goal as a leader is to use that wake to serve people as opposed to knocking people over. So here's the thing. The words that you use they can either be an antidote or they can be poison. And so you never poison your own well. You never go send negativity down to the team. You never go down there and spew on everybody and all of your rants and all of your frustration, all of your lack of emotional maturity. And you go down there and just spew on everybody. You get on your group chats and you spew all over. Leaders never do that. Leaders never spew down. Leaders also never poison anyone else as well. They never spew across, They never spew to other people's teams and other people's organizations saying, they get all negative on everyone else. I don't like this and I don't like that. Because they know that their words have power and they have a leadership wake. So my question to you is this: Which way does positivity go in an organization? Positivity goes up, positivity goes down, and positivity goes across. Positivity goes everywhere. Which way does negativity flow in an organization? It flows up. Flows up to the person in essence above you in the organization, flows up to the people that can help to solve the issue or solve the challenge. You don't poison your own well. You have to drink from that well. And it's just like in a marriage. If you have a challenge in your marriage, you don't go tell everybody else. Why? Because you're going to figure it out in the next 10 minutes, 3 days, next hour, you're going to have that thing figured out in your marriage. Same thing is true in your organization. Don't go in there and just fly off the handle and go negative on everybody. Great leaders don't poison the well. Number 5 is great leaders diffuse problems, not exasperate them. So as a leader, what you do is you solve problems. This is what you do. So if problems are hitting you, you're a leader. Colin Powell said that if problems stop hitting you, it's because the people below you think that either that you don't care or that you're incapable or unqualified to solve the problem. So it's a lack of leadership either way. So the point is this: great leaders solve problems. So when a problem comes up to you, that's the way you want it to go. You don't want the problems to come down to you. You want them to come up to you, right, as a leader. So we carry 2 buckets as leaders. One bucket is full of water, one bucket is full of gasoline. And as a leader, you need to know which one to use and when. Are you a fire lighter or a firefighter? A firefighter throws the water on and diffuses the problem. In other words, when they send the problem up, they've handled it, and then they send it up to the next person in the organization to be able to help them to solve the problem. What terrible leaders do is they throw gasoline, on the small fire, and they exasperate the problem. So when they send it up, it's an even bigger fire than when they got it. A great leader grabs it, throws water on it. They're a firefighter. By the time it comes up, they've calmed it down, and they may not even need to send it up because they can handle it. Or by the time they send it up, they've calmed things down. They've diffused the problem. They've put water on the fire, and then they send it up, and they get the problem worked with. Number 6 is leaders are emotionally mature and emotionally stable. I've done a lot of trainings on this. It's what's called your EQ, your emotional quotient. And high emotional intelligence is one of the great hallmarks. The studies say that you'll make $29,000 more per year if you'll become emotionally mature and emotionally stable. This is John Wooden, the great UCLA basketball coach, said when you'd walk into his locker room after a game, you wouldn't know if the kids won or lost. They weren't super high, super low. They were just emotionally mature and emotionally stable. So there's 2 questions you can ask yourself as a leader to rate yourself on how you're doing with your emotional maturity and your emotional stability. Question number 1 is this: how far do you fall? How far do you fall when negativity hits? How far do you fall when a challenge happens? How far do you fall? So if your baseline's right here, this is super happy and then super negative, do you fall like a little bit or a lot? Do you fall all the way to rock bottom? Something happens to you and you fall all the way to rock bottom. How have you done in your past? I know that we've all been through really tough challenges, right? You've had some challenging times in your life. How far did you fall on those? And you can say, moving forward, I'm not going to allow myself to fall that far. Question number 2, how long do you stay down? Great leaders are resilient. They don't fall too far and they don't stay down too long. In other words, when challenges hit and the issues are coming at them fast, they don't fall too far and they bounce back quick. They don't allow the weight of the pressure to hold them down for long term. They're resilient. So you want to create patterns for yourself, whether it's listening to positive information, going for a walk, having a quick diversion and just kind of getting your head right, taking a deep breath, pushing pause, and just getting your mind right for a second, and then go back and hit it hard. So how far do you fall? How long do you stay down? Are the 2 questions you can ask yourself. So the next time something happens, you say, look, how far am I going to let this pull me down? Remember, you're the one that's in control. And then once you go, you have your pity party for a few minutes, you say, how long am I going to choose to stay down? For minutes or for an hour or for a week, a month, a year? There's people that have had issues. We've watched this. How many of you have seen someone that they went through something really challenging in their life and they went all the way to rock bottom and they stayed bumping around at rock bottom for months or years or in some cases decades of their life? Great leaders don't fall too far and they don't stay down too long. Number 7 is leaders are always loyal to the absent. The question you want to ask is, if this person were in the room, would you say it? Now we live in this funny world, right, where they have keyboard courage, right? They can text and they're super tough behind the keyboard. They got something big to say behind their phone or behind the computer, but they would never dare say it face to face. They can go on social media and say it. They can text it. They can text it to someone else, but they wouldn't dare say it to someone's face to face. If you wouldn't say it to someone's face, then don't say it anywhere at all. Don't say it, don't type it, and don't repeat it. The only thing that gives a rumor life is breath. If it's not true and you don't know it's true, don't repeat it. Don't give it any breath. And so what I want to share with you guys is that great leaders are loyal to the absent. You don't wonder what they're going to say about you once you leave the room. Have you ever been in the room with someone like that? They're talking and they're doing their thing, and then you're thinking, man, when I leave here, what are they going to say about me? You want to be a kind of leader that's loyal to the absent. I was working with an executive council one time, and one of the executive committee members said, his sentiment was, guys, we have to be loyal to each other and loyal to the absent. If one of us isn't here, we're all loyal to each other. That's how we're going to create a great team. Great leaders are great team builders because they can create cohesion, because people don't wonder what trash is going to be talked when they leave the room. Okay. So again, if you wouldn't say it to someone's face, don't say it, don't type it, and don't repeat it. Number 8 is great leaders care what the right people think. I'm in a mastermind right now with some really amazing folks, and one of them's got this big online influence, and he's in there saying, I won't use his language because it probably wouldn't be appropriate for this discussion, but he's like, I don't give a crap what anyone thinks about me. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I used to care, but I don't care what anyone thinks. Shame on him. Shame on him. You should care what the right people think. If you're the kind of person who says, I don't care what anyone thinks of me, it doesn't matter what anyone says, or it doesn't matter what anyone thinks, it just matters what I do. That's not what great leaders say. Great leaders care what the right people think. So a great leader Jack Nicklaus in the movie Bucket List with Morgan Freeman, there's this great line that says, leaders measure themselves by the people who measure themselves by you. Let me say that again. You want to measure yourself by the people who measure themselves by you. So you do want to care what your children think. You do want to care what your spouse thinks. You do want to care what your mentor thinks. You do want to care what your team that looks to you as a role model and as an example, you do want to care what they think. You do want to behave and act in a way that you're proud of people that care about you. You say, if my kids saw me right now, they would be proud of me, or I would act still in the same way. Or if a mentor of mine, or someone that I look up to, or someone that maybe would measure themselves by me, would say, I want to strive to become like you. You want to measure yourself by the people who measure themselves by you. Don't be the tough guy or the tough girl that thinks that you don't care. Typically, the person that says that, by the way, is the one that's the most insecure, the most, oftentimes most narcissistic. In other words, they care the most, but yet they're going to act like they don't care at all, and it's garbage. You should care what the right people think about you. That's what great leaders do, is they care what the right people think. Now, the German proverb says, no one is wise enough to advise themselves. You want to get great counsel and care about the right people. And leaders give less weight to the opinion of the chickens than they do to the opinion of the eagles. So what I want to share with you is, as a leader, you're looking into your organization and you're saying, you don't care what every single chicken says around you. Every person that says you're dumb or you're stupid or you can't do it. Look, don't give any weight to that. But the ones that measure themselves by you and that you look to measure yourself by them, those are the ones that you care about. Number 9 is great leaders never quit on a bad day. Great leaders never quit on a bad day. There's this adage in success that you should never quit. You should never give up. No. You should quit for sure. So a lot of stuff you should quit. You should quit your addictions. You should quit your smoking habits. You should quit, the food addictions that you have. You should quit the language that you're using that's not serving your business, that's not serving your career. You should quit all that stuff. You should quit your excuses. You should quit your complaining. You should quit your defending. You should quit blaming. You should maybe quit the business that you've spent the last 9 years of your life and you've made no money at. You should quit doing all of the things that are not serving you to become the person that you're meant to become, they're not serving your leadership or your greatness, you should quit all of those things. So here's what I want to share with you about quitting. If you're going to quit something, I'm going to encourage you to move on to something better. So in other words, never quit on a bad day, right? If your business is terrible today, don't quit on a bad day. Just move on to something better when your head's right. You've slept on it, you've sought good counsel. Leaders never quit on a bad day. They never quit their business, they never quit their marriage, they never quit their relationship, and heaven forbid, they never quit their life on a bad day. So if today's a bad day for you, I want you to remember, it's always darkest before dawn. The sun's coming up in the east tomorrow. It never quit on a bad day. Quit when you can move on to something else when your head is right. And then number 10, leaders lead with vision. Great leaders lead with vision. I remember when I was working with an organization, our CEO, this was in the fall of 2008, 2009, the economic downturn, economic recession, and the business was literally heading this way. And it was just a challenging time. And the CEO went out and would do a thing called Good News Wednesdays. Good News Wednesdays were just like, what's positive happening in the organization? Because there was positive things happening too. Great leaders focus on what's right versus what's wrong. He was fixing what was wrong, but he was also focused on what was right. There was good things happening, and in different pockets of the organization. So on Good News Wednesdays, they would share what's right with the organization. They focused on the vision of where we were headed, and that vision ultimately pulled that company through. So great leaders have a clear vision. How clear is your vision right now for your own self as well as for your team? In the beginning stages of an organization, all that you have is vision. You don't have anything to point to. But even when you have tons of track record, remember this, it's easier to sell where you're going than where you've been. You sell where you've been to validate where you're going, but you're always sharing where you're going. Why? Because the new person that you're talking to today, they don't really care where you've been. They more want to know where you're headed. Why? Because they're new. They weren't there for the other stuff. They're there for the stuff moving forward. So if you've been super successful in your last career or super successful last year or last month, that's great. You can validate where you're going by where you've been, but you're always sharing the vision, as a great leader does, of where you're headed and, most importantly, what it means to them. When Martin Luther King gave his famous I Have a Dream speech, you'll notice it wasn't called the I Have a Plan speech. The speech was the vision and the dream of where he was going. Your dream should be on the tip of your tongue. Your vision should be on the tip of your tongue. Literally, if I were to tap you on the shoulder and say, what is your latest dream? What is your latest vision right now? You wouldn't hem and haw. Research has been done that says high performers they can answer that question 7 to 9 seconds faster than the rest of the population. Tap on their shoulder, say, what's your latest dream? What's your latest vision? They have an answer for you 7 to 9 seconds faster than everyone else. Why? Because their dream is on the tip of their tongue, not in the back of their mind. A dream on the tip of your tongue will not motivate you. It will not wake you up early. It will not keep you up late. It will not get you fired up. It will not have you push through the challenges you're going to face as a leader. Dreams in the back of your mind don't motivate you. Dreams on the tip of your tongue will wake you up early. They'll keep you up late. They'll keep you thinking. It's what's called burning desire and Think and Grow Rich. That is the dream on the tip of your tongue. I had a man I worked with years ago that created a plaque for me. Some of you have heard me share the story. The plaque said, lead with vision. It was etched into the wood. And this man was an interesting guy. His dad was from Romania. His mom was from Poland. They met in a Nazi concentration camp. Now, they were not Jews. They were actually sympathetic to the Jews. They were rounded up as part of this, put into a Nazi concentration camp. That's where they met. They eventually, the war ended. They survived the camp. They were literally people with no country. They scrounged up pennies in their pockets, made it on a boat to Ellis Island, and raised 5 boys. They eventually had 5 children. This one son was the gentleman that I worked with. And one of the 5 sons they raised in this cinder block, basically apartment complex with no running water right off the shores of Ellis Island. When the boys got older, my friend said to his dad when he got older, and they understood really the context of what had happened in the camps and just their whole story, he said, Dad, how did you survive the camps? Because his dad would be beaten so badly that he would go unconscious. And he said to his dad, Dad, how did you survive these beatings? How did you do this? And his dad said, son, when I would be beaten in those camps, he said, I would have visions of my boys. He said, I would have a vision of you. He said, it was you and your brothers that kept me alive. He led with vision in the most dark days, of human history, and specifically in this gentleman's life. His 5 boys all went on to get advanced degrees in college. The one that I worked with had done over $2 billion worth of business in his career, generated over $2 billion worth of revenue. And he said to me, Justin, he goes, when times get tough as a leader, lead with vision. And it's the vision of who you could be. It's the vision of what you could do. It's the vision of lives you could touch. You remember in the good book, it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Don't you wish it was just so simple as it said, if there's no vision, you're screwed? If you don't have a vision, like bad news on you. It's not how it works, guys. Where there is no vision, the people perish. The people whose lives you would have touched, people whose lives you would have positively affected, the people whose lives on your team right now, the lives of how you'll change their life, that is what is affected if you don't have a vision. So my challenge to you is to lead with vision. Those are the 10 traits as a great leader. Where do you rank yourself 1 to 10 on each one of them? How are you doing on leading with vision? How are you doing on leading by example? How are you doing on being slow to offense and quick to forgive? How are you doing on focusing on your dreams and not on the drama, or never poisoning the well? What about, are you diffusing problems or exasperating problems? Can you get better there? Where are you at 1 to 10? Are you emotionally mature and emotionally stable? How far do you fall? How long do you stay down? Can you get better there? Are you loyal to the absent? Can you get better at not saying or typing or repeating things because you always would only say it directly to their face? Do you care what the right people think? And then can you adopt this idea of total ownership? You never quit on a bad day. There's always reasons to quit, my friend. There's always reasons to keep going, and the reasons you choose will define you. And then lastly, are you leading with vision? My challenge to you is to go from 1 to 10 on each one of these and to build your leadership, because everything in your life, everything in your business rises and falls on your own personal leadership. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.